Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Africa Study Group, for inviting me to be with you this afternoon. For the past 20 plus years in Canada, my professional life has been focused equally between public service and community service, which in many ways intertwine. Being African Canadian myself, I have few things to say about African diaspora communities in which I live and work. I would like to say that the African diaspora is diverse and growing. African Canadians account for 55% of the Black population in Canada, which was about 1.5 million in 2022. Africans in general here in Canada are mostly new immigrants, as they have lived in this country for less than 50 years. Understandably, there's no long history of organizational capacity that can foster strong and effective advocacy support network that the African communities desperately need. And I'm comparing this with other Black communities who have established in Canada much longer. I would also say that new immigrants from Africa are more focused on establishing themselves in a new country to adapt to a new way of life and all the challenges that go with it. They, however, keep strong ties with their countries of origin, where most of their immediate family members still live. All of this to say that the African diaspora has different needs than other Afro-descendants, but also presents certain assets that Canada can utilize in improving foreign policy in Africa. Allow me to quote a member of the Permanent Forum of People of African Descent. Her name is Germaine Basita, who stated that we cannot view all Black people or people of African descent as the same. We must acknowledge the differences within our communities and spaces, to celebrate those differences and ensure that no group is left behind. Without a doubt, Canada has supported the Black community as one group in different ways. But sadly, not much has been done to recognize the contributions that the African diaspora can bring to the table in developing relations with the African continent. African Canadians are uniquely positioned to represent Canadian priorities on the continent due to their potential for impact as they transfer resources, knowledge, and ideas back to their countries of origin. As an example, Canada for Africa Group members and partners, some of them participating in this conference, can speak to the impact of projects conducted in Africa, particularly in refugee camps. These small community organizations from Canada achieve great results without government support, relying solely on their passion, personal savings, and funds they can raise with limited capacity to make a difference in people's lives. All I'm saying is that they can do better, even better, with government support. The African diaspora knows the needs of the local people, their culture, the contextual situations in which greater outcomes of Canadian assistance can be achieved. I raise all of these issues to emphasize the need for more action from global affairs to engage the African diaspora. And they can do this in many ways. And the African diaspora can inform policymaking for Africa. They can engage them to support and also trust small organizations delivering humanitarian assistance as much as other larger civil society organizations which are operating on the ground, assisting vulnerable youth and women, especially in refugee camps. They can also engage the diaspora to participate and advance sustainable development goals in communities that we know much better. We can advance the Canadian feminist foreign policy on the continent because we have the expertise and know the needs of African people, young and old, and especially women. We can collaborate in all international development programs and platforms so that we can also carry the flag of Canada as African Canadians. International trade is no doubt as important, and other people on this panel will address that. As you well know, successful trade agreements can only work where nations can provide secure institutions and reliable political environments. This is another area where Canada can work together with the African diaspora to gain insight and counsel on situations in Africa, particularly where institutional capacity building in governance is needed, and where Canada can surely provide support to prepare the ground for mutually beneficial trade exchanges. There are certainly African countries which offer more trade benefits than others, and where relations with Canada would be more developed. Furthermore, some diaspora groups have developed more networking capabilities than others in their relations with the government. But in the interest of a strategy for Africa as a continent, we ask that Canada considers the different needs and opportunities existing in all African regions and assist the African diaspora accordingly. Various communities representing different interests, yes, but of equal importance in outcomes across Africa for all Africans and in the name of the African Canadian identity that we all share. You may ask, how can we do this? How can this be achieved? This calls for an African Diaspora Permanent Council, along with a government platform where diaspora issues can be debated to assist the government, global affairs in particular, in crafting an action plan for Africa. Such models exist in other countries, including Germany, France, and the US, where we share some similarities. In this room, there is expertise and momentum for developing such frameworks. I am only hopeful that this conference is a first step to creating our own Canadian model for Africa, which is long overdue. Thank you, and I wish you a good debate.